Welcome, everybody. My name is Kristen Anderson, and you are watching Most Amazing Woman. Today we have Shannon Spring with us. Hi, Shannon.
Hey, Kristen. Thanks for having me. And Grover.
And Grover. Let's see, Grover. Oh, hi, cuteness. Oh my God, he's cute. Yeah, so Shannon, you are an animal communicator. And my very first question for you, and let's just jump right in,
Yeah.
is when did you know you had a gift?
Yeah. Wow. It's a great question. There's multiple parts to it. So, and also share that in addition to being an animal communicator, I'm also a people medium. So officially an animal communicator, a psychic medium, a comedian, and an author.
Hey,
So
that's a
yeah,
lot
yeah,
of
we can talk
things.
about. It is a lot of things. I'll give a quick little plug for Open Mic
Yes,
for
do it.
Animals. Yeah,
I
evidential
love
fairy tales.
that.
And chapter one is about the very first time I knew that I was talking with animals. So the entire
Mm.
book is my story about how I remembered I'm an animal communicator. Because I always say how I became, but it's really remembering because it's something that I was doing as a child
Okay.
and then was talked out of me. So when my first dog passed, I saw his spirit leave his body. And, no matter how spiritual are, no matter how strong our faith is or our knowledge, our convictions, we still grieve. We're still going to miss the presence of a person or an animal. And so as a child, they sent me to go talk to the school priest. And Father John, this is many decades ago, uh, back in the day, did not have the greatest wisdom to give a child. And he told me that dogs don't go to heaven. And I
Oh,
said, yes, they do. And you should never tell a 10-year-old girl that her dog doesn't go to heaven. And he was sort of like, what's happening in my, what do they call it, a booth? I don't even remember anymore.
yeah. Well, and that's pretty bold too, as a child, to say that to a priest because, I feel like we're in a similar age range and you don't really do that with a priest, right? You just listen to what they
No,
have to
not with the
say and
priest,
you
not
say,
with, yeah, not with the
yes,
priest,
sir.
not with the nuns. In
Yeah.
seventh grade, I had a battle with the nun over wearing lip gloss.
I've had some battles with nuns.
Did you? Yeah. And my mom had actually just given me a brand new Clinique lip gloss for Christmas, and I was all excited to wear it to school for my first boyfriend, Joe Scheller. Shout out to Joe Scheller.
Hey,
I really,
Joe.
I really wanted my name to be Shannon Scheller. I thought that would be awesome. In hindsight, not, not so much. But anyway, and the nun said, "Go home and wash that lipstick off, Shannon. Your mom would be upset." And I said, "My mom gave it to me." Yeah, she was. The nun did have a point, though. You know what I mean? In all honesty, shout out to Sister St. Catherine, not to grow up too fast. So,
Right? Yeah, that's hard.
all is good. Yeah. And spoiler alert, well, not total spoiler alert, Kristen, that priest makes an appearance 38 years later in my life.
Really?
And he's in the book. It's like I couldn't have written it better myself. Like reality is better than fiction when it comes to these stories. Yeah.
This is true. There's so much. The more I learn and the more I know, the more I realize, like, whoa, this is very, very intricate. It's very, very complicated.
Yeah.
And it's very incredibly precise.
We're all connected. And it's really funny. A lot of the times before I sit down to do an animal reading or a psychic reading, a mediumship session, names will drop in.
Mm.
Yesterday, the name Larry was all up in my business. And sure enough, I ended up talking to a woman. I couldn't even remember the name of the country because she said it. And I was like, I need to see it in writing to be able to say it and spell it. Anyway, somehow she found me, and one of her three dogs was named Larry.
Aw.
So that came, and I mean, even something as fun and silly as I'm in a writer's group and somebody posted a photograph and said, "What does everybody think I should call this character?" And I'm like, Mirabelle. So I write that down and I go hang out at Starbucks for a little while to do some work. And I end up talking with a woman named Mira.
Mm.
That's not a common name. So, and spin off of that name. So that happens a lot. I had a dream about a dog who then showed up in my email. Somebody had booked a session. Most of the times people send me photographs of their pets. That's how most of my sessions are done and how I'm able to work with animals around the world. and she was deciding which animal to bring into her home after two of her cats had passed. One, two, three. There's the three bachelor and bachelorettes, and I'm like, well, I
Oh,
already
that's
know which one. It's the one from my dream. That being said, I still did due diligence and kind of, we spoke with each animal to find out why or why not they'd be a good fit. And it just, I mean, it's magical, and I don't use that
wow.
word lightly. Like when I choose a word, I choose it very consciously. We hear terms like narcissist thrown out a lot, right?
A
I'm not
little
going to
too
use
much these days.
too much, and
Yeah.
unfortunately then it devalues really the clinical meaning of that, or magic. So I use the word magical when I really mean it. Like, you remember in Wayne's World when they did like doodle.
Yes.
That's pretty much what my days are like. Yeah, all
I
day
love it.
every day, like doodle. I even wake up in that state. So it's not to say that there aren't sad and difficult moments. There are, but they're still magical. So
Right?
yes.
Wow. That's amazing. I love it. So, were you ever ostracized for having this gift? Like, tell me about that. I know you had some run-ins with priests and
With priests
nuns.
and nuns.
But what else?
On the church,
With
right?
yeah, the church doesn't believe in magic.
Right. Or
Yeah.
I would say that they do, and they don't want other people to.
Yeah, that's probably the deeper truth.
Yeah, because that's how we can become disempowered. Wow. So, great question. I would say that I was ostracized for other reasons. I'm getting a bit of a chill up my spine as I say this. So, I got a lot of the who does she think she is from other people. Unfortunately, mostly women. And that has still happened as an adult. The who does she think she is mentality. And also police officers. So they either love me or they're like, she's up to something. We don't know what it is, but she's up to something, and I'm like, come on over, man. One of the best things about living a transparent life is there's no lies to keep track of, and everything is easier, and then I'll speak for myself, makes me more receptive to communicating with the spirit, to communicating with the afterlives, to magical, whimsical things happening that profoundly changed my life. So ostracized, absolutely, by some leaders in the spiritual movement who this is a very interesting question, Kristen. So I know we have
I have another level of it too as I'm talking to you, as I'm listening
it's
to you.
really, it's been I would say it's a thorn in my paw that I recently removed, because claiming my power back has been a lifelong journey. I trusted a lot of the wrong people, and some of the places that are traditionally known for or try to claim to be places of empowerment aren't. And in my book, I write a lot about the times when I was doing mediumship training. There's a great story in there how I was in a mediumship training class. It was with a British medium who was rather humorless. I love using humor. Animals are also wildly funny. So being a comedian is actually very helpful to me in animal communication and talking with the spirit world. And boy, do I have some stories about that that are fresh off the press of dead people using my own comedy jokes, Kristen, to tag on to. So, but the bottom line is, like, it really is, do someone's actions match their words? And if they don't, I'm going to cut myself loose from the situation. Actions over words first. For so long, I went over people's words. I took them at their word because I am a trusting cat. Now, I feel like I'm wearing that t-shirt, no more Mr. Nice Guy, from having gotten taken advantage of, from having gotten betrayed, people disappointing me that are supposed to be empowering other people, but really are in it for themselves. And as long as you keep your power to this level, you're okay and you'll get along fine. But when your power starts to rise up close to theirs, they start to get very uncomfortable, depending on who they are. There are two women that I think of right off the bat that are in my book that are not threatened by other powerful women. Therefore, they're a safe place for me to be connected with. One of them wrote the endorsement on the back of my book. There's Mary Puppy Pants.
Aw, Nice.
Dr. Deborah King, and she wrote a book called Be Your Own Shaman. Now, talk about a way to empower people. She wants to teach us the skills where we can heal ourselves. So we're not always looking outside of ourselves for someone to heal us and someone to empower us. I get very nervous and very uncomfortable when something is too guru centered, whether that's a religious church, a networking group, a spiritual community. How much are people really being empowered? And take credit for your own healing. At the end of the day, we heal ourselves. But when my clients come to me, I want to open the doors for them. Yesterday, I had a woman show up, very depressed. She had seen me speak at an online conference, and she said, I know you're the one who can help me. And I take that very seriously. And I have a limited amount of time with people, unless they have endless pocketbook, or I'm living with them.
Right.
Shout out to future Mr. Spring, but he needs to come heal. He needs, I'm not in the training, coaching men business anymore. You're welcome to all the other women dating my ex-boyfriends. Anyway.
I have to double down on that. You're welcome, ladies.
Yeah, right? You're welcome, and then you're then some. There's one specifically that's coming to mind that I'm like, boy, was that lady on Easy Street by the time I was done with that guy. So,
Amen.
yeah, shout out to Tom and his wife. In fact, this is a bit of a tangent. You can, muzzle me as needed, but I actually had a dream that I have a lot of these flying dreams, and I had a dream that I flew into Tom's house on a broomstick. I was this age, and thankfully I did have lipstick on. I was looking good, because you never know how you're going to look in a dream, right? We don't really seem to have control over that. And so I fly into his house on a broomstick, and I just playfully knocked a couple of things off the shelves like a cat would do.
Like a cat?
Like a cat would do. And Tom comes out in the living room, and he looks at me, and he's like, what are you doing, Shannon? What are you doing? There still was a lot of love. And then his wife comes out and is like, tell her to get out of the house. Tell her what she's doing in the house. And it was just comedy and fun that comes through the subconscious. Tying this back to what I said a few minutes ago, the more playful and comedic minded I am in my own life philosophy in creating fun for myself, the more the spiritual world knows they can play with me. It's like they recognize a playground from the sky when they look down on my pink and purple and green house, and on my soul and my spirit. I don't pick fights, but I will end them,
Nice.
Yeah. So, and I also know when, it's not going to be worth my time, when to let somebody work through their own energy. But people did a lot of projecting onto me. In the story that I was telling about the online medium, we were told by her mentor, it's really great to introduce yourself in a creative way, to be memorable. And I'm like, I've taught classes on this, like how to introduce yourself in a funny 30 to 60-minute elevator pitch. So I was like, oh, fun. So I have this cheerleader, and unfortunately, she must have gotten a gig today because she's not nearby. I can't grab her. Penelope. And I grabbed Penelope, and I showed up and I said, this is Shannon Spring. She's not small. She's not large. She's the medium in charge. And she said, go Shannon. Now, I did this with I don't know how many people, maybe 50 people on a Zoom call, and I couldn't see anybody but the instructor, like the setup is now. I finished it. This was my way of reducing my nerves, because it was a pretty cutthroat program. I finished that little performance, that cheer. My energy's up here, and I was met with this. Are you mentally ill, Shannon?
From the leader?
From a medium. And this woman was the protege of a very, very famous medium, which doesn't really mean anything to me anymore, other than it's just you would hope and think that they know better, the cruelty wouldn't be in the curriculum. And so after she said that, I stayed silent and I let her cruelty breathe, because what she was doing is this person, I give mostly code names in my book, and I'm trying to remember what I call her in the book. And sometimes I get the real names and the code names mixed up now. So it's right. We'll call her Sarah. So Sarah wasn't comfortable using humor. And so because she wasn't comfortable using humor, that was under lock and key in her own spirit and heart. I show up using humor, full-blown threat. Red flag threat. If she was the airline stewardess, she would have had me pulled off the plane. What's the passenger doing? She's having too much fun. Get her off. That's a
Oh
threat
my
to national
gosh.
security. Yeah,
Ah, for real.
yeah, it's happened a lot, Kristen. And even just recently, I just started going, you know what? I don't feel good in this group. I don't feel good in this connection. I don't feel. And it was a matter of not being angry, not causing a fight, but just saying, that's just not nice, or you broke your promise to me. And we had an agreement. No drama, just remove myself and say, I expected this, this was the result. And then you leave it up to the other person how they want to handle it. And as grown-ups, I'm not going to say as women, as adults, we should be able to apologize. We should be able to laugh at ourselves. In my book, I call myself an asshole a couple of times. Mostly over drinking,
Okay.
or things that you look back on and I'm like, oh, I wouldn't do that again. But it's really not about how I've treated people. Mostly about how I've treated myself, or letting other people get the best of me, which I just don't do anymore.
Yeah, I feel like that comes with, that one, it's sort of a sign of our times as the whole earth is expanding and growing, right? Up leveling. But
Yeah.
also women in general have just been, not taught that. And we're all sort of waking up to that. And it's interesting that you brought up that feeling, like, how does this feel? I've been doing that like the last couple of weeks, and I've done it with things very often.
I love that.
Yeah. And for kind of my whole life, I've just kind of done it with things. If this is attached to someone, like, say, this mug, I had a mug that had my initial on it, and I had a few, but it felt bad when I used it because I knew somebody who was very attached to the fact that I had these letters and it was making them angry. So when I looked at it, it made me angry. It made me think of them, so I would get rid of it.
As you're
But
saying that, I'm imagining Buddy the Elf like drinking hot cocoa and marshmallows from that mug and then like trying to feel angry, but he can't because he's always in such a state of childlike joy and play.
yes, yes. And getting to that same thing that you're talking about, feeling in your body about situations, about relationships, about places. How does
Yeah.
it feel when you stand right here versus
Yes.
stand over here?
It's huge.
Yeah. It's huge.
Being really in tune with your own body. And I think even the term, we were talking about overused terms, even the term healer gets overused.
Yes.
And I cringe a lot when I see people call themselves a healer. I'm a healer. I'm a healer. And I'm like, how do you define that? What does that mean to you? And have you healed yourself? Now, we're always in the process of healing. As long as we're alive,
Yeah.
we're continuing to heal. But I'm talking about the big stuff. Have you really done a deep dive at yourself, the introspection? Because that's a little bit of what I talked about with my client yesterday. And I looked at her and I said, this version of you that I'm looking at, this is not the real you. She said, oh, I'm not creative. I'm not creative at all. I said, no. I said, these are lies that you've been telling yourself. Now, for some people, that may actually be true, and they may not care. Maybe
Right.
they really don't have a creative bone in their body, but they're super good at being an electrician or a gymnast or whatever. There's even creativity involved in those things, though, of
Oh,
course.
yeah.
So I actually had her talk with my dogs on the spot. And I said, what do you think? And I think this example will apply to a lot of other things. Grover, the one that I pulled up. I said, what do you think Grover wants to say right now? And she said, oh, well, okay. She's like, it sounds a little generic, but I'll say it. She said, he's talking about a bone. And I went, yes, yes. And I got so excited for her because while that could sound generic, right? Dog goes with bone. It really didn't, because I had bought bones for so many years for my dogs, and one of them got them lodged on his jaw. We had them surgically removed, so I didn't buy those bones anymore. I went, and then I just stopped buying them because it was like they were either causing ants, causing problems. So we didn't buy bones for a long time. They still got treats, before somebody starts sending hate mail that I don't love my dogs. But I had
dare you.
I know, right? How terrible.
Yeah.
I had just gotten back from the store, and Grover had just finished like running around the house so happy, dancing with a bone in his mouth. So someone who shows up, it's peeling the layer of gray off of people, Kristen, so that they see, hear, and feel their own inner light. Maybe magic. I will say inner light. Magic is a different ball game. So,
I
Cheshire
agree.
Cat is one of my personal muses.
Oh my God, I love the Cheshire Cat.
Do you?
Yes. Oh
He
my
probably brought
gosh.
us together today.
So amazing. So okay, you have actually answered, was my next question was, can you develop these gifts?
Yeah. See, I will answer many things within one story.
Yeah, I figured that you would. I was like, I'm just going to write down a few questions, but I'm
I
pretty
love
sure
it.
that Shannon's going to
I
talk
love
and
it.
it's going to all be covered. Because really, this whole thing is about, it's about you and what you want to say to the world. And I love that you said, peeling off the gray. So when this was a client of yours that you had yesterday, right?
This was a client I had yesterday, and I would say, while this is my story, it's not about me. It is about hopefully inspiring other people to rewrite their own stories. And this is an arduous process that can be made more fun. Most people are terrified of answering the question, honestly, are you happy? Are you happy? Most people, yeah, oh, great, things are good. La, 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 la. And it's like, are you? And my job is to be like the friendly bullshit detector when people come to me. And I prefer being in work mode because it's no filter, it's honest, and it's transparent. When I then have to go into a situation where people are lying to themselves, about themselves, with other people, it's very challenging for me. So the answer is yes, everyone has intuition. Everyone has psychic abilities. On some level, everyone can communicate with nature and animals. That being said, the more that you go through your own energetic field with a NASA-like flaw detector and bullshit detector, the faster and deeper you will be able to develop your gifts. And none of this is about being perfect. None of it. Yeah, it is about having an honest look at ourselves. For me, it was getting sober. I was dulling my own magic by drinking, and really degrading myself. So it's like if I'm degrading myself over here and waking up feeling lousy and engaging in behaviors that aren't of the highest vibration, well, I can still have wonderful experiences, tons of comedy material. I mean, look at comedians are very funny and they're not
Yeah.
always, living these, love and light lives. However, I would argue many of them are. Our psychic abilities and our comedic abilities are very closely aligned. And if you tap into both of them, life is going to get much more fun and your manifestation game is going to speed up. I actually teach a class called Be Your Own Humor Psychic.
I love this whole humor aspect. Ooh, I just got chills.
Yeah.
Because I feel like the shadow work that we have to do if you're on the spiritual path and
Yes.
you are your own healer, which would be my version of a healer. That's what
Right.
it means to me. Like you're healing
Yeah.
yourself.
Sure.
It can be tough, and bringing that humor in, the ridiculousness of what we actually go through.
Oh, it's
It's
insane.
it's insane, and
Yeah.
and at a certain level, you'd have to laugh at it.
Yeah. The job description of being a human being is absolutely bonkers. I mean, imagine looking that in a wanted ad. You'd have to be cuckoo puffs to sign up and be like, I'll take it. I'm
Right?
gonna lose everybody I love. I'm gonna, go through times of total insecurity. I mean, it's nuts. But when we think of it as a game and we're playing a game, as a kid, I used to love to play arcade games. Pac-Man, Frogger, and life has been a game.
Love Frogger.
Frogger, you're the little frog and you got to cross the highway without getting hit by the cars. I mean, some days feel like that and they're not so funny, but then later on, you can find the wisdom and the comedy. And on the good news front, every single terrible, traumatic, no good, down rotten thing I've been through now helps me help an animal, a spirit, or another person. And Kristen, I mean everything from acne to heartbreak to depression to childhood abuse. every single, to gossip and betrayal, being on the receiving end of that a lot, that helped strengthen me to such a degree that now whoever shows up on the other side of my screen, tiger, lion, bear, fish, turtle, dog, cat, cow, spirit, human being, I'm like, we can do this. We can do it. And in fact, can I tell you a quick funny story about an inappropriate joke that a dead guy told me?
Yes.
Okay.
I love inappropriate jokes.
So I promise you it's all related. It all relates. If you go
I
back
believe
later
you.
with the show notes and you're like, tangent, you can even put up a tangent alert, but then you just circle back. It all circles back. So I have a woman that shows up on the other side of my screen, and she has a lost dog. Nothing funny about that. Okay?
Right.
Nothing funny at all. And I have an extreme amount of reverence for the work that I do. You know, I'm not running a comedy club when people show up to me here. That being said, because I am so receptive to humor, I am then able to pass that on to the other person. So she shows up for a lost dog, and it was a particularly interesting case because the dog had one of those Apple tracker collars on, and she calls up Apple, and Apple's like, the collar is still on your property, which of course driving her nuts because then where's the dog? I tune into the dog thinking this is just a lost dog reading. And the dog says, someone has me, someone has me. And I'm like, okay. So I'm trying to get a visual on who has the dog, who has the dog. And I'm not getting much past her property or the neighbor's property. Turns out the person who had the dog, is the woman's deceased husband. So I say, has your husband passed? Yes, he passed a few years ago. I said, your husband has your dog. So the dog had transitioned. So grief upon grief, right? Lost dog. Now she's learning that her dog has passed. Her husband has recently passed as of a few years ago. Grief, grief, grief. But wait for it, because comedy is a-coming. So I see the man in spirit. Now, he is a macho-looking dude, okay? He's not going to be the poster child on a men's enlightenment spiritual group on the beach, okay? He looks more like he stepped out of a Harley-Davidson magazine. And bald mustache, real, you know. I was like, was he a cop or a fireman? You know, like he looks like one of those two characters. And the guy shows me holding the dog. So I asked a few questions, confirmation that the dog has passed. Yes, yes, yes. This brings comfort to the woman. So comfort came first. Then the guy says, I had recently told a joke at McCurdy's Comedy Club when I was performing stand-up. And I said, is it okay to curse on here? Or
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So because I've been
No filter.
but this word actually does involve, you know, a curse word. So it's not me just, you know, turning into a sailor all of a sudden.
No. I'm a sailor.
Okay. I try to keep it mostly appropriate.
You're good.
So this guy in spirit knows that I have told this joke because we are all connected. So how does this dead guy that I've never met know that I told a joke at the comedy club the other night? Because they know. Because everything is energy. And in my belief, and let me say my experience, the spirits choose the medium, knowing who's going to resonate with their people, with their animal, and, drum roll please, the one who's going to deliver their jokes properly and say the inappropriate stuff that maybe some other mediums might blush or censor. So the guy says, I told a joke up at McCurdy's, and it was something like, I'm a medium, and have you ever heard of this ghost fucking thing? It's a real thing. It's on YouTube. You can look it up, where people claim that they've woken up and they've been fucked by a ghost, and they're like, I don't know if this happened or not, okay? And I said, I have never done ghost fucking, but I'm definitely die curious. Okay? So that was...
Die curious.
So that was my joke. I was like, hey, man, you know, I'm sleeping. If I'm not sleeping next to somebody, why not? Why not try to, right, have sex with the dead guy? Who knows?
You know?
Maybe a couple of them. So this guy knows that I've told that joke, and he says to me, and I'll change the woman's name, you know, is Laura aware that I visit her at night? So I gently say, are you aware that your husband visits you often at night? You know, this is testing the waters, Kristen, testing the waters. And she says, yeah, I do always feel his presence at night. And then he goes, and I went, oh my God, are you a ghost fucker? Like, this is me in my head to the dead guy going, are you literally about to tag, like called a callback in comedy? Are you about to callback comedy, my joke. I'm gonna fall off my chair.
Oh
And the
my
guy
gosh.
says, ask her if she's aware that I'm intimate with her when I visit her. And I said, when you wake up, do you feel like you've had sex with your husband? You know, do you feel like it's been an intimate experience? And she's like, yes. Oh my God. I always felt like I woke up like, God, I feel like I was just with him again. I feel like I was just with him, Shannon. And I'm giving the guy in spirit like, this was fantastic. Now his wife has gone from grieving to laughing and has gotten tremendous validation. And then the guy finishes it off. The professional comedian, even though he didn't do this in real life, he goes, Shannon, I never would have been caught dead talking to a psychic. And now here I am, a dead guy talking to a psychic.
Aw.
I know. And it does have the
Wow.
wow factor. It has the what, and then the oh, and then the wow. You know, it's like this roller coaster of
Yeah.
emotions. We're all
Yeah.
connected.
Because we're all connected. That's
We're
a
all connected.
beautiful story, actually. And what a tremendous healing for that woman.
It is. And that's like the, you asked about like how I became this, how I did this. Different pieces of my gifts and abilities came in at different stages. The more I healed myself, the more the spirit world was like, there you go. Honest to God, Kristen, like think about in a video game. I don't remember what the rewards were in Frogger, but I do remember in Pac-Man that once you
Right.
got to like 700 points, you got the soft pretzel. You had to
Right.
get a certain amount of points before you
Yeah.
could. I love soft pretzels. I don't even remember what came over the soft pretzel, but you got those rewards. It's a lot like that in life. Now, I want to be careful with that because it's not so much like you do this and then you get that. It's more like you become this
Right.
and then you receive and experience that. And being able to relieve someone's grief in the short time I have with them is heaven sent. And I take that real seriously.
Yeah.
So I made a
Yeah.
joke at a networking group about one of the things that makes me great at my job is my willingness to be punched in the face if I have to say something that somebody doesn't like. And I would encourage anybody, I don't want to be, but it's like, again, I'm not in the business of telling people what they want to hear. I am kind, I am compassionate, and I am sensitive. I'm also direct because that's the best way to help people. And Kristen, I wish to God, back when I was in the throes of pain, healers had been more direct with me. Not mean. A lot of the times that word direct gets confused with, I'm going to say whatever I want to say, however I want to say it. I'm a tough guy, and it's like, no, you're not Howard Stern. Settle down, you know? Like, and
Yeah.
he's become a lot more sensitive over the years. So, thank you for that.
Yeah.
And advocates for animals. But the point being that you can be both direct and kind. Do you know that that relationship that you just described to me is abuse? Are you aware of that? Are you aware that you're in an emotionally abusive relationship? It's different than, well, your self-esteem's in the shithole. Obviously, you're not working on yourself.
Yeah.
And I've been to healers like that.
Yeah.
So, let's make empowerment empowering. And if we're advocating for ourselves and for healing for ourselves, speaking for myself, I like to be consistent across the board. I'm not going to advocate for women and then not advocate for black people, for Asian people, for gay people, for animals. I don't think we can pick and choose our kindness. And it really identify your own hypocrisies.
Ooh, that's
And
a good one.
you will speed up your healing pretty quickly. There was somebody the other day that they wanted to go horseback riding for their birthday. Now, it is July in August. This may have been in June. It's hot in Florida, let's put it that way. Okay.
It is.
So I see the post and I just post very neutrally. You might want to consider holding off until the temperatures are cooler. To which the person replies, defensive, 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 angry, angry, angry. And it was, well, I can't change when my birthday is. And I was like, that's not what I said.
Mm-hmm.
And that's projection. And I said, not telling you to change when your birthday is. I am, however, asking you to look at the situation from the perspective of the horses. Neutral statement. Anger, anger, anger comes back at me. And then it was, well, I'm sure that the ranch takes care of the horses. And I'm sure that they do the right thing. And I'm like, how are you sure? How are you sure? And any anything that I'm asking someone else to do, Kristen, I'm already asking of myself. How am I sure of this, Shannon?
Yeah.
Do I really know this to be true?
Yeah.
And it's actually become very interesting, like in my dating life. There's a line in my book. If you read my book for no other reason, read it for this.
I will read it. I'm excited to read it.
Oh, well, and it's in Audible now too, and I narrate it, and boy, is that fun. And you know what's else interesting, Kristen? When I was narrating the book, there's stories in there that I've told so many times. And yet, when I was narrating it, they still hit me in the heart.
Yeah.
Where I still went, oh God, that was really painful. Even though I'm okay about it, you know? And even me talking about painful stories, I feel that energy. And I'm so hypersensitive energetically that I have very strong boundaries and really choose my inner circles very, very, very wisely. And they're mostly animals and dead people.
Right.
They speak the same language. They are of comedy. And they've gone through the life review. I have already gone through the life review while here on Earth.
Nice.
And hold myself to a freakishly high standard. So anyway, the person was very angry at me. And it was so interesting to me, Kristen, because I just was like, man, just settle down and step back and say, what is it that Shannon is actually saying? Oh, she's showing compassion for horses. Does that make her a bad person? Maybe, right? Maybe. If you have a totally human-centric viewpoint, then sure, that makes me a horrible person that I have now ruined your birthday because I've asked you to consider doing this. And so it makes my tolerance level very, very low for hypocrisy within myself, hypocrisy within others. And when I'm dealing with it in a professional context, it's much easier. When I'm dealing with it in a personal context, it's like, I just don't want to deal with this anymore.
Yeah.
I'll have to go. Oh, I almost forgot Jim in the book. Real name, by the way. But there's a lot of Jims out there, so it won't matter. So when it comes to my dating life, I am so confident now in who is coming into my life that I dare say he is going to come up riding a unicorn, petting the Cheshire Cat, you know. And like he's gonna have something. So wait till you hear how that stuff has actually been coming true. So anyway, I've become so confident in who I am as a woman and reclaiming my own power and lived by myself now for a while with animals, of course. And I've achieved such a level of confidence and independence that whoever comes into my life either matches it or they leave. It's not a negotiation anymore. It doesn't mean they have to be perfect. I'm horrible at leaving dirty dishes in the sink. You know, that's one of my bad habits. So when someone comes into my life, I'll be more considerate of that. They'll do the same. So this guy, Jim, and I were dating. He was very good looking, ladies. use your imagination. And gentlemen, you know, very good looking. My dogs and I had actually sniffed him out. I was walking the dogs one day, and I all of a sudden started acting like a wolf, and I went... And I said out loud, I go, boys, he's within sniffing distance. And I'm like, why am I doing this, Kristen, right? Like, even sometimes I'm weird for myself where I'm like, why am I sniffing like a wolf? Why am I talking out loud saying he's within sniffing distance? 2 days later, I met Jim 2 blocks from my house. Now, Jim and I spot each other from down the street, and there was like a sexual through, I don't know what sound that was. I don't make that in bed. I don't know where that came from. There was a sexual charge. I guess it was like a stop.
Yeah.
You know, that went through the airwaves. We dated for a little while. The sex was out of this world. However, then he didn't have much to say outside the bedroom. And one day he looks at me and he goes, he started off the relationship paying lots of compliments, being all about my strength and empowerment. And then he goes, God, you're so confident. You're so confident. I know, like it's a negative thing, but it's so beautiful, Kristen. It's like the definition of respond, don't react. And I said, you know, Jim, I said, it's going to be a lot easier for you to learn to like yourself more than it will be to get me to like myself less.
Woo, that's fire, Shannon.
It's fire.
That is fire.
Water. It's lit up, and it's going to go, I'm going to go ahead and cool this down with water because you're trying to pick a fight, and I'm not going to do it. And then, you know, later I followed up with, I'm sorry, are you confusing me with your ex-girlfriend? Because I don't play these games. So, you know.
Woo.
Yeah.
That is serious.
Well, and you can apply that logic. I have given that line to so many women. And it just came,
say it again for us. Say it again for us.
It came through me. And it was, and feel free to, In fact, Kristen, for triple the
Yes.
powerful effect, whoever
Yes.
whoever the person is, call them Jim. Maybe you're dating a guy named Bob, right? And just call him
Right.
Jim. It'll really kick it down a notch so where he understands where you're coming from. And so
Yes.
the line was, Jim, it's going to be a lot easier for you to learn to like yourself more than it will be to try to get me to like myself less. That's not an argument.
Ladies.
That's an invitation. It's an
Yes.
invitation to step up your game. And you don't like yourself so much? Okay, then fix it or don't. But if you're going to be playing in my sandbox, you're going to need to be fun to play with. Like,
Yes.
that's it. And it really isn't an argument. And a lot of the times when I feel myself in some type of conflict, and if I care enough about the person, I'll let them know, hey, I was upset by this, or I was disappointed by this. That is an invitation to that person to ask themselves, do I care enough about Shannon to fix this? Or maybe they don't like me at all. Fine. Do I care enough about animals to fix this? Because I'm doing rock star work in this world to help animals of all species, and I am not humble about this for a reason, absolutely one of the best doing this work. And sometimes I see this thing like a lion doesn't need to roar when a lion is a lion. I'm like, have you heard a lion roar lately? Because they do roar. And they
Right.
roar loudly and they roar proudly. And it is sit back, son. When you're watching a lion roar, I watch these like memes that come in to my Facebook, and I just go, oh, you know? And
Yeah.
I develop professional crushes on other people. I met a excuse me, I can't say the word, cardiac surgeon, a veterinary cardiac surgeon. The
Oh,
man
wow.
walks in the room. I instantly liked him. He was cocky, but for the right reasons. And he walks in the room, like there's cocky and likable, and then there's like offensive and narcissistic, right?
Yep.
This dude
Yep.
walks in, he's cocky, he's likable, and I look at him and I go, you must have the greatest time at the high school reunion. And he looks at me and I go, you are a veterinary cardiac surgeon, son. Like, what? Who are you? And it like made his day, because he doesn't really get to hear this. I just look at him and I'm like, what? What? And you don't want your surgeon to be insecure. I don't want my man to be insecure. And insecure people are very dangerous.
Yeah.
The two women that I mentioned, Dr. Deborah King being one of them, went through one of the most horrific life stories I've ever heard, Kristen. Trauma
Yeah.
within trauma within trauma. That's not my story to tell. You can read her books. Truth Heals, Be Your Own Shaman, Entangled in Darkness. You want to heal? Read her books. She comes out on the other side, and she's a powerhouse. When she walks by you, you go, what was that? What was that? I've developed that energy now. That can have two effects on people. Whoa, wow. Or, who she thinks she is.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because insecure people, it's an invitation, man. If somebody triggers you, ask why. Can you fix it? Do you want to fix it? Then go about healing it. Otherwise, step out of the way of the lions. Because
Amen. I love
Right?
it. Yes.
we're doing harder work. I showed up to a ranch the other day and I read 10 horses and a pig. Two of those horses were euthanasia consults. Now, Kristen, imagine if I showed up and I was like, hi, I'm here to talk to some animals. And,
Right.
I'm going to do a good job. I hope. Fuck that. Now, I'm not going to show up being like Lady Gaga being delivered, by 6 good-looking men on a stretcher, right? Maybe someday.
Although that would make a great photo.
It'd make a great photo, but I'll be poking fun at myself when I do it. I'll be
Yeah,
sitting
for
there
sure.
eating a donut or something stupid. But the point is, I showed up for the animals. I had to manage the people's emotions, the animals' emotions, have the committee of spirits coming through my heads, guarding this entire process. And I do have to tell you this. And then I don't know when you're going to get rid of me, but I can talk with you all day.
Right?
I'm talking with this horse, Kristen. Horse's name is Cowboy. Talk about magic. Talk about the thread, how we're all connected, cosmic voice. Okay? I had recently had a conversation with someone about men and the man that's coming into my life. And I said, you know what, Dawn? I want to meet a real cowboy. And I'm just using this as an analogy. Okay, just an analogy. And I said, one guy I dated recently was like, what to be a cowboy, you know? Like, but he just was not a grown ass man yet. And it's like, go do your work, and maybe we'll talk. But he's gonna be horrible in bed. And I don't want to be his mother. I don't want to be his trainer. You know what I mean? I want to be a cowboy. Then there's another guy that shows up, all machismo, you know, former, we'll just say military. So I don't identify the branch because that is getting a little too closer to identify him. And he shows up. Looks like a cowboy, walks like a cowboy, talks like a cowboy. Not a cowboy. He's a poser. He doesn't have the grown-ass heart of a man. He doesn't have the integrity of a man. And he had a mean streak. And I went, nope, no mean streaks. You can have a bad day. You can be a little grouchy sometimes. If you got a mean streak, you're done. There are no second chances on that. So
I agree.
I said, I want to meet a real cowboy. Now, what happens? A month prior to my saying I want to meet a real cowboy, I posted in a spiritual group. I hear a whole bunch of horses calling my name. I don't know where you are, horses, but I'll find you. I'm coming. I'm coming. Something drops into my Facebook feed about a bunch of horses at a ranch in Hudson, Florida. And I said, would love to donate my services. I'm going to be filming some production reels to send to studios. Come and talk to your horses. And the woman says to me, her name is Angel, and she says, you know, I just put out a call telepathically for an animal communicator to come and help us. No, we match up. Now I have no idea yet what's in store for me. At the ranch, not one, but two, there are 2 horses named Cowboy. At the ranch.
You're getting tag teamed, girl.
Oh, don't I wish. Shout out to Amsterdam. Many years ago, Marco and his friend, don't remember his name, but Marco.
Oh my God, right? It's a good time.
Yeah. And so I'm standing next to Cowboy number 1. Now, he is a beast of a horse, man. Woo, brother. Like, you know, and he should be cocky as a horse. It's like, you bring it. Everybody, here's my invitation. I invite you to be cocky about what you're good at. A lot of the times, be humble, right? Especially in the spiritual world. Be humble, be humble. You know what? God created a peacock for a reason. Show your plumes. Show your plumage. And have the sense to be humble about where you can improve, right? Or where you made mistakes. The same things that I celebrate myself, like Peppy Penelope, are the same. Also, I have to say, where could I do better? Where do I need to apologize? What did I learn from that, right? You got to have both. You don't get to be up here doing your end zone dance if you're out so not doing the humble dance of like, you know? And the more that you learn to celebrate yourself and heal yourself, the less you're going to have these moments of needing to, you know, call yourself into your own office.
Right?
Have a seat, right? And you're like, oh, this doesn't sound like it's going to go well. So I'm standing there talking to this gorgeous horse named Cowboy. He does not like men. Now, the staff is kind of very close around me. They want to know about his past. The only time that I will go into an animal's past, and I also encourage this for humans in healing, don't be delving into somebody's past unless there's a reason. Other than that, people can get very stuck in their story and stuck in the pain. Never leave somebody worse off than you found them. If you're a hypnotherapist, if you're a psychic medium, you're a healer, whomever you are, man, that is a sacred time you have with that person. If you're having a shit day, cancel your session. I'm getting off on tangents, but if you're a Reiki healer, energy healer, dear God, don't be working on people until you have worked on yourself. So I'm standing next to Cowboy. They said something about trauma. Now he's being reactive to men. Now there's a reason now for me to ask him a little bit about that. But you see, I start to gesture like this. This is my way of saying I'm going to go in very gently. I'm not going to come in and say, why are you being a jerk to men? Or what's up with men? I heard you were rude to Al. You know? No. I stand next to the horse. We melted into each other, Kristen. And I do mean melted. And the staff was like, whoa. We've not seen him do this before. The amount of love that was being exchanged between this horse named Cowboy and I had sent out a call for a real cowboy, magic and manifestation, is happening in lifetime. He gives me a hint of the trauma, flashes to a man who severely traumatized me in my own life. So now I've got a sense of the depth of the trauma. I went, okay, all right. As he sends me that image, the horse starts getting a little uncomfortable. Just enough to demonstrate that what I'm doing is real. We've now said the T word. I'm now getting a little bit into that energy field, and his energy went from loving and melting into me. He's not uncomfortable around me, but the memory, the energy is starting to, and I went, that's enough. Don't need more information on that. And my right arm went numb, which is something that happened to me years ago from extreme trauma. And I write about it in my book. I went blind and I went paralyzed from extreme psychological abuse.
Ooh.
Yeah. Now, recovering from that is a never-ending truth-telling process.
Amen.
All the time. And then fiercely protecting my own joy and my own right to laugh and to be happy and to celebrate my victories. And anyone who, I'm not going to use the word threatens, because I'm not threatened by people. Anyone who attempts to challenge me on that will be put into their proper place. I will not deal with that.
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Just on a side note, do you think that severe psychological trauma has elevated your abilities?
Yeah. Hands down, absolutely. And I will answer that question. The horse went from the trauma, the trauma in the arm to, okay, we go back to melting with each other in love. Now, what does he do? He brings the comedy. Serious, serious, serious trauma, trauma, trauma. And then all of a sudden I go, okay. And I feel my energy start to change. Now, this is going to sound a little weird. Animals are sexual creatures. Okay? They just
Yeah, they are.
They're pure, raw emotion. They're pure, raw energy, right? And that does include sex. So I'm standing next to this horse. We're melding into each other like love story. First interspecies marriage. Ron DeSantis can get over himself, right? He's going to ban my book. I hope to God he bans my book. Please, Ronnie, ban my book. You'll hate it. You'll hate it. It's going to ruin children's minds. It's horrible. So I'm standing there with the horse, and all of a sudden the horse goes, Shannon, the men you date from now on, now that you've met a real cowboy, they're going to have to, he goes, they're going to have to hit a real high bar, real high bar. Now, I know he is telling me a dirty joke about his manhood.
Right.
And I'm feeling the joke, and I'm feeling it come on, and I'm starting to giggle, and I'm starting to laugh, and I'm on camera, and I'm like, I'm going to be sending this to producers. So I said to Cowboy, I go, is this an R-rated joke, or is this PG-13? He goes, it's R-rated. So I know what he's saying. The staff picks up on what I'm saying. I kid you not. I'm driving home after all these readings, and he goes, Shannon, I was telling you that I'm hung like a horse. I have literally been laughing about that for a week, okay? Like, oh my God, a horse just told me that he's hung like a horse.
That's hilarious.
The funniest thing that I've ever heard. Like, hung like a horse, hung like a horse, hung like a horse. I go see a comedian the next night with my friend Julie, who was there during the source communication. What does the comedian do? He starts telling jokes about what he's hung like.
Oh, wow.
All connected, all connected.
Yeah.
And the more that you acknowledge it, Kristen, that you go, I know that's you, Cowboy. I know that's you coming through this comedian right now. Not to say that this comedian wrote his sketch, collaborating with Cowboy the horse, but energetically speaking, how I wound up there that night with this comedian telling that set, that's a horse telling me hello from his dick in the comedy club. And it's like, and then, next time you see a horse, look down, and then you might look at your husband or your spouse and be like,
Cowboy.
It's crazy. So, yes, your question was?
Yes.
Psychological abuse relating to gifts.
Yeah, like did it elevate your gifts, or how do you feel that impacted your gifts?
Kristen, that is a phenomenal gift. And that was a shout out to my brain, because it's a lot to keep track of.
Yes, that is a shout out to your brain. I'm like writing things down.
I am ADD, but there's so many good parts about that too. And I do believe that ADD helps me with this a little bit, being receptive. It's like I can see the squirrel and the shiny ball, but there's a reason for it. There's a reason that this is getting my attention, because it always matters and it always resonates. Yes. Now, this is not a shout out to abuse, okay? Abuse, You can still sit in the boo section. That being said, if you have lived in an environment of psychological warfare, like I did,
Yep.
we can become so hypersensitive to energy that we sense the slightest shift of temperature in the room.
Yep.
We sense the slightest shift in somebody's mood. We know when we're safe, and we know when we're not safe. Pay attention to that. Personally speaking, you would think as a psychic medium that I'm always making the best life choices on who I let in and who I don't. I'm getting a lot better at it. Professionally speaking, pretty good at that. Personally speaking, I made way too many exceptions. It's a weird dichotomous situation. So hypersensitive to energy that I can go and talk with a horse and they'll tell me exactly where in their body they're suffering. I felt the numbness in my arm because of how energetically sensitive I am. And I went through abuse, physical and emotional, like the worst, and a lot worse.
Me too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Made
So
it out
I
on the other
understand.
side. Made it out on the other side of that. There's some people that are still stuck in that.
Yeah.
There's some people that are claiming that they're healed and they're healers. And no, you're not. They are wounded healers going around projecting their bullshit onto other people. I know because I see them.
Yeah.
And they try it with me, Kristen. Like I said, that veterinary cardiologist, when he walks in the room, his energy is different. You know what I mean? My energy is different when I walk in the room. I imagine yours is as well. For the right reasons. Not everybody's ready for that. The more somebody is lying to themselves and hiding and denying who they are or the secrets that they have or they're gossipy and they're not living integrity, the more
Yep.
threatened and triggered by me they're going to be.
Yeah, I feel like when I walk in a room, sometimes it's like I part the seas, like freaking Noah. Like,
Yeah,
people are
exactly.
like, whoa, there she is. Whoa, let's
Honestly, exactly.
stay away from her.
I was very glad when I got your message because I was like, okay, somebody who's reached out to me individually. And that meant a lot to me. Recently
Oh,
just
thank
closed out my
you.
personal page and put it on my business page. And I went, if somebody cares about the work that I'm doing and or me, they will reach out to me. And you did. That means a lot to me. To me, that is the first step of friendship, if friendship is to then develop. Because I take
Right.
that word friend very seriously. It's
Yeah,
got,
me too.
yeah, it's gotten
I
to
have a
be.
very tight circle as well, and I think, it's because I do sense the energy and I sense the integrity,
Uh-huh. Yeah.
of the
Integrity has
individual.
a flavor and a smell we really always have to ask, what is my intention and what is this person's intention with me? You
Yeah.
know? The other night I had a dream about a burning building and I'm standing on the roof of a burning building and I'm standing there with somebody from the media who's rather well known in the media. And it was fascinating to me. She's standing there, I'm sitting here. We both were nicely dressed. I say this because I spend a lot of my time in boxer shorts and flip-flops working from home.
Oh,
But
right.
we're both bringing our A game into dream. And we're standing on top of this burning building, and we both kind of looked at each other. No words were exchanged. Nothing happened. And I woke up and I went, well, that's a powerful dream. Because for me, symbolically, that means that I'm now rising up to the next level that I want to go to, which is getting a ton of media exposure, not for me, for the work that I'm doing with the animals.
Yeah.
And for the people that are sitting at home, Kristen, that have been through sexual abuse, emotional abuse, physical abuse, that are broke, that are friendless, that have no
Yep.
self-esteem. The better I feel about myself, the more I can help bring other people out of the ashes of their lives. If I'm sitting around and I'm playing small and I'm letting Susie, Jill, Bobby, and, Mandy take shots at me,
Yep.
I'm not going to be able to defend them. So
Yep.
if I speak up about you wanting to ride your horse in the middle of the fucking heat in Florida, and you have a problem with me, you ultimately have a problem with yourself. Not me.
Yeah.
You have a problem with kindness, and here's another thing that I'm going to invite people to consider. You also have an issue with probably people not being kind enough to you. To me, that person comes across as someone who is in a short supply of kindness for herself and for others. This is not an either or situation. One of the things that haunts me that I see in social media, somebody will raise a lot of money for an animal or say, God, go get the animals out of the hurricane, or go get the animals, stop animal testing. And sure enough, somebody will comment, aren't there children to feed? Aren't there homeless people to help? And I'm like, what's wrong with you? Why
Yeah.
can't we help both? Why do you have to pick and choose your kindness? Do you do that with yourself? Because
Yeah.
bet
Yeah.
you they do. And I saw this person recently behind a microphone, working up the crowd, boom, 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 boom. And I call bullshit. I do. I absolutely call bullshit. Because if you give me the microphone, I am going to hand it to the pig, the turtle, The fish, the person who's getting abused by their husband. And I'll tell you what, I am one of the worst nightmares of spouses or the significant other, because they know that they're, I'm going with this. And it's like, I smell it. I smell an abuser from far away and someone who's been abused. And there's a woman who came to me recently for a pet reading. Within 3 minutes, we were talking about her having been sexually abused by her father. Within 3 minutes of the conversation. And she needed me to stay steady like a pilot and fly that plane so that she is a safe passenger. And then, while she's steady as the passenger, I'm teaching her to be the co-pilot. Now she's going to have to be the pilot when the session is over. I wish more people had done that for me. There were some people along the way who helped. And God bless them. And I thank them for that. Dr. Deborah King was one of them.
I wrote her down. I wrote down her name. So check out her books.
She's phenomenal. And I recently got a massive spiritual healing in Arizona at a retreat. Bunch of healers there. And these are real healers.
Yeah.
These are the people that and I'm always musing and wondering, Kristen. And I looked around this group of healers. I don't know, let's say 100 people, 200 people in the room. And I thought, what if a really bad guy came in the room right now? The person who hurt me, for example. What if Paul walked in the room? What would he do? What if nobody said anything to him and he just had to take a seat in a room full of actual legitimate healers? I love that idea.
Well, the thought of that brings me right to energy entrainment, which is what I was thinking about as you were talking, because that's kind of what you're doing. When you hold the plane so steady for a client, you're training them with your energy. And if your energy isn't high or faltering, then they're going to feel that energetically. So when you hold your energy, you give them sort of permission, or you give them a feeling so that they understand what it feels like.
Yes. And the animals. And so that when I'm standing there with somebody's animal, and I work with all species, but I'll use the horse as an example. And I have to have a conversation with the staff who are all smoking or vaping.
Oh my God.
Okay. It's like, do I really need to finish the sentence? Unfortunately, I did. And the horse says, that bothers me. It really bothers me. Now, it also bothers me. But I didn't say a word about it until the horse did. And then the horse said, do you know how energetically sensitive we are? Now that's a disconnect from the people working with their animals. Again, it's hold yourself to a high bar, not about being perfect, but where can you clean up your act? I call it cleaning up my life's litter box. Energy entrainment, absolutely. That woman needed to know that when she revealed to me about her father, that I wasn't going to look away.
Mm-hmm.
And I wasn't going to make excuses. And here's a good one. I'm not going to ask her to forgive him, because that's not my fucking place.
Mm-hmm.
What I am going to do is say, I'm very sorry that this happened to you. You didn't deserve it. It wasn't your fault. And that sickness belongs with your father, not with you. So let's get it off of you. Because the shame that you've been carrying like a heavy burden on your back, like an elephant being ridden against her will, that belongs with your father, not with you. Mm-hmm. Or your husband, or your neighbor, or whoever's creeping on you and trying to steal your joy. There's a lot of unhappy people out there, Kristen, and when they see joy coming, walking back, and they see a powerhouse with energy coming by, they want a piece of it. They really do. They want a piece of it. I was at a traffic light one day, and I saw a dog hanging his head out the window. Happy dog, happy dog, happy dog. And all of a sudden, I went, oh my God, I understand why people abuse animals. It's because of the happiness. It's because of the innocence and the natural joy and the I'm happy and I like myself. If you don't like yourself and you're not happy, who better to steal it from than an animal or a child? And next in line is a self-empowered woman.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, so true. Yeah, I have somebody in my life who definitely is always throwing me things that I have to block. And it's a lot of energy to keep blocking that, and I wish it would just go away.
Is it a personal relationship or a professional dynamic?
It's a personal relationship, and it's just been 16 years of this, and I'm just it's on rinse and repeat. And I'm just like, aren't you bored? Because I am so bored.
No, Jim, aren't you bored with being
Jim,
you?
for real, Jim, are you not fucking bored with the same shit you keep
Wouldn't you
throwing
rather
at
be a
me?
real cowboy? You know, or a real cowgirl, or whoever it is that you want to be. And
Yes.
it's interesting to me that this person that I saw behind the microphone, she has it in her. She's not there yet, and she doesn't know she's not there. You know, I can
Yeah.
look back on old photographs of myself and say, "Oh, that girl looked real pretty,"
Yeah.
but she was terrified.
Yeah.
She was terrified. And it's not because I was a bad person, but I hadn't yet stepped into my power.
Yep.
And it's a whole different feeling, and everything changes when you step in your power. You're going to still be challenged, you know? And law of attraction gets very misunderstood. We vibe attracts your tribe, and good vibes only, and la 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 la, and all the bumper stickers and all the, and it's like, all right, settle down, everybody. It's deeper than that. If you have abuse and trauma in your life, you could, wait for it, actually be attracting abuse and your trauma in your life because that has been trained into you, not because you're an abusive person. You might be attracting traitorous friends because you have betrayed yourself on a core level somehow. Or are people continually stealing your power? How are you giving it to them to do? You know?
Right. Yeah.
It's there's so many lessons within lessons to learn. The good news, waiting on the other side of all the battles is a lot of fun and a lot of love and a lot of sex.
We gotta have that.
With
So
real cowboys.
it's interesting because there was a time a few years ago where I was dealing with the same person and they were coming at me, and there was a shift that happened in me, and it was, instead of getting reactive and triggered, I I saw the comedy, and I just started laughing, and I laughed so hard that day. That was the first time I had like true belly laughs, tears
Yes.
streaming from my eyes. I was like, "Oh my God, this is actually ridiculous."
Yeah. Yes, it
And
is.
it's so funny. Like, what? Are you
Yes.
still doing this? Like,
Yes. Yes.
what are you doing?
That's right.
Like,
That's
do
right.
you look in the mirror and hear yourself right now? Because
Yeah.
you are a straight comedy show. I
Exactly.
couldn't make this up.
Yep, and we can say the same thing to ourselves. Like, I
Yeah.
can look back at younger Shannon and go, "Oh, girl, you're going to give Rich a second date? I mean, really?
Yeah.
Our time's
Yeah.
that tough. And so, like, have a sense of humor about yourself first. It's what
Yeah.
comedians do. You can be freakishly confident and also self-effacing. You're not putting yourself down, but you're just able to laugh and go, well, my bad. Maybe I shouldn't have done that.
Right? Yes, that's so powerful. Having that grace with yourself and to look at your mistakes with humor.
Yeah. And if you're truly empowered, you do want to give it to other people in a sincere way. And I cannot emphasize this enough. Sincere way. Sometimes I get embarrassed as a woman with all these things that we see about, like, hey, women, straighten each other's crowns and be nice to each other. And I get embarrassed as a gender going, oh my God, this is so embarrassing. Because it's like, just do it. Just be that person. You don't see men going around like, hey, men, straighten up each other's ties and, tell each other when your fly is down. And it's like, it is a commentary, though, really overall on how, unfortunately, still women are so uncomfortable in their own power
Yeah.
that they need to go around talking about how they have to empower other women and how they believe in this and they believe in that. And it's like, just be an example of it. Be a
Energy.
self-empowered person. What's that?
Energy entrainment.
Energy and be it yourself, and then go and do it for someone else. Because when you're standing there and you're taking care of a pig and you're eating a ham sandwich,
Yeah.
are you in integrity? I don't think
Yeah.
so. And if you're
Yeah.
talking about female empowerment and you're gossiping and you're stabbing each other in the back and you're saying, who does she think she is? You're not empowered. And you're definitely not a healer. And maybe you should step down until you're actually ready to
Yeah.
be a leader, have a platform, whatever it is. Kristen, your energy is so calm and self-possessed. And, I even remember some of the comments that you made on some of my Facebook posts that were just supportive and they were fun, and it's authentic and it's natural. And that energy is so quick of an exchange. People make it more complicated than it is. There are
Right.
so many people that I wanted to like or I wanted to trust. And because I wanted to, I let the head make the decision and not the heart. And the heart would have gone, how did you feel? How did you feel after being with that person? I had somebody tell me they thought my energy was aggressive. And I went, okay, let's break this apart. And believe it or not, I invited this person to have a chat with me. And we met via Zoom. And I said, it's come to my attention that you've gossiped about me. And I'm just wondering if we could talk about it. Now, to her credit, she showed up. However, I just found your energy to be very aggressive. And I said, okay, why did you feel that way? Ultimately, I had to fight to get my money back from a person. I don't know why I put person in quotes because that's still apparently a little
Right.
triggering. And because that person did the wrong thing, they then put me in the position of having to confront them, of having to stand
Right.
up to them, of having to use my power. So if you're doing the wrong thing and then somebody shows up asking you to do the right thing, are you being aggressive or are they being disingenuous, lack of integrity, and need to grow up? So it was a real interesting situation that this person put me in. And the reason that I took the time with this person was because if you're going to call yourself an animal lover and then stab someone like Shannon Spring in the back who's helping animals on a regular basis, are you an animal lover? Or do you just care about your own animals and making money from your animal business? You get what I'm saying,
Yep. Yep.
It's really, really, really be of integrity and feel free to call yourself out on it. I apologized to a friend the other day. My mom's getting ready to pass soon, and her husband was in the hospital, and I messaged her something about my mom, and I went, I shouldn't have done that. And later on I said, I really want you to know that I'm very sorry because this today is about you and about what you're going through with your husband. I apologize.
Yeah.
And just being self-aware and self-accountable is a path to peace. It's a path to healing. It's taking your power back from anyone who has ever abused you. Because you know what they didn't do? I'm going to go ahead and bet they didn't apologize.
Yep.
Because
Yeah. I actually am one of the girls who called out Donald Trump for the hand grabbing up the skirt, pussy grab.
how did you do that?
How did I do it? How did I call him out? Oh, it's on the news. Just big. But one of the women asked me, one of the interviewers, one of the news stations, what would you like to see happen? And, some of the other women wanted a lot of different things from him. And I just wanted an apology. I don't need a check. I don't need
You want the acknowledgement.
anything. Just, that was probably not a good thing for me to do. And I'm sorry.
You know what I want from him? I want him to grow a pussy. You know? I mean,
Yeah.
you got to talk about it all the time. To grow one yourself and see if
Grow
you can
one, babes.
and
Yeah,
see
grow
if
one.
you can handle having a pussy.
Right?
Because it takes a lot of courage and a lot of strength to be a woman in this world.
It sure does.
That he does not have. But good for you,
No.
Kristen. And that's, the each one teach one and the each one heal one. And that if you have the confidence and the courage to put yourself on the front line, you're inviting other people to join you there. And you're creating the safe space of saying, I have your back.
Yeah.
I have your back. If you don't have your own back, you're not going to have anybody else's back. I want to be around people who have their own back.
Yeah.
If you think that's aggressive, I'm going to go ahead and say that you are probably engaging in aggressive behavior yourself and don't want to be called out for it. And now you're projecting it onto other women.
Yeah, I agree with you full-heartedly. But I've been called aggressive and too much. I get that a lot. You're just too much. Just calm down a little bit. Like, God, I've been calming myself down and not being too much for so long. I feel like I'm stuck in a bottle. I'm like a genie in a freaking bottle. Like, let me out. I don't care anymore.
That makes me laugh so hard. I was using comedy one time with a therapist, and he was like, Shannon, be careful of using humor as a defense mechanism. And I was like, I can't win. If I'm too sad, let's get you some antidepressants. If I'm actually happy, it's like, it's a defense mechanism. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and say this is not working.
This is
I'm
not
gonna go out.
working.
And animals healed me. I healed myself. Dr. Deborah King, which, by the way, at that energetic spiritual retreat, Kristen, I stood up in front of the whole class, in front of all these healers, and I said, Deborah, you and I have a similar past. All I said. And then I just started talking about my book, and I said, I'm ready for love. And I said, and I mean it, I am ready for love. I've done my work. I love myself. I'm comfortable being alone. So save your cliches. They don't apply. Now, what happened between me saying that and the next thing, I don't actually know. The next thing I knew, she turned me to the side and called up a few of the energetic healers in the room. And that's when stuff got very real. Now, I'm being real, and she didn't call bullshit on anything I said because it was the truth. I actually am ready. I have done the work. I've healed it. Jim knows. Ask Jim. Or ask Cowboy. I am ready for
Cowboy knows.
It comes all back to Cowboy. You know what I mean? Anyway, do you hear that? I did a little. I don't know
Yes.
but giddy up.
Giddy up.
She turns me to the side and she calls up some energetic healers, and she was about to do what's called an inner child rescue. Now, that is not for the faint of heart, as the giver or the recipient. And there was a team of healers around me, and then Dr. Deborah King herself stood in front of me, who has been through extraordinary childhood abuse. And she looked me in the eyes, Kristen, and she stayed looking me in the eyes. And at one point, it became so energetically intense, in a good way. I started to and she said, stay with me. And then her eyes softened, and she looked at me with intense love. Stay with me, Shannon. And I did. And then they walked me back to my seat. And after that, the game changed. Because I had done all this energetic healing on myself. I wrote a fantastic book. It really is. I have helped heal tons of animals and tons of people. And yet, I still had a gaping wound in me that just wasn't healing. That's when we want to look into past life issues. That's when we want to look into childhood trauma. And that's when we want to work with a top level healer. I mean, top level.
Yeah.
She did this for me afterwards. I took before and after photos. There's a visible difference. I look younger. I look happier. I look healthier. I look cellularly different.
Wow.
I don't know if that's a word. Ask the veterinary cardiologist. I looked cellularly different, energetically different. I then had a dream. This retreat was in the desert, that I left behind my two favorite childhood toys, a stuffed bear and a stuffed dog. Had a dream that I left behind the two toys in the desert. That's a little bit more than symbolic. I healed in the desert, left behind the two childhood toys in the desert. Then I came home, Kristen, and in my closet were these two childhood toys. Sometimes they were out, sometimes they were in the closet. My cat, Magic Mike, another story for another time, but my very first cat, goes into the closet, knocks the toys down, and I went, oh my God. Remember what you said about going through your house with going through things?
Yeah.
And I went, oh God, it's time to give these away.
Yeah.
Now I'm about to turn 52. Okay. You would think this is not a big deal.
Right.
I'm not sitting holding on to these things every night, sucking my thumb, you know?
Wow.
But these two toys held a lot of power.
Yeah.
And from the cat, I went, oh, I'm supposed to get rid of these. And I was like, I'm not supposed to put them in a trash bag, but I'm also not supposed to donate them because they have too much energy attached to them. I don't want to do that. And I wrote in a post in the spiritual group, I said, I wonder why I held on to them for so long. And what pours out of us when we're just writing without trying to write? And I said, I imagine on some level I held on to them in case I ever needed witnesses.
Whoa.
And that statement came out. So then the idea came to me, take the two toys, and bring them into the forest. So I brought them into the forest and I sat them up on a tree holding each other, and I walked with my dogs out.
Wow.
Talk about connection and magic, and everybody knowing everybody, from the dead guys knowing my comedy stand up to the horses know I'm coming before I'm coming. When I arrived in the forest
It's incredible.
that day, it's mind-blowing. And when I walk into the forest that day, the very first animal that I see is a squirrel. And Kristen, this is not your average squirrel. We're talking Disney himself could not create this squirrel. The squirrel is sitting in the path, and he looks at me like, smack in the eyes, full of life, full of vigor. He knows this is a celebration. He knows this is a ceremony that's happening. The squirrel leaves the path. About 10 feet later, there's a giant rabbit, a brown rabbit, sitting right in the path. Hi, Shannon. You know, again, noticeably looking at me, staying still, staying present. I also have 3 dogs attached to me, so, you know, and they're not moving. They just, not frozen in fear, but observing us, looking at us. And the rabbit leaves. And I put the animals up there. Energetically speaking, from removing those 2 items from my house that I have been carrying around all these years, things got a whole lot lighter around here. I thought I was holding on to them out of sentimentality, a symbol
Right.
from childhood. And it's like, childhood is over.
Yep.
I can still have fun and decorate and color and play games and finger paint if I want. I can
Yep.
still be very childlike. But I no longer needed these 2 security blankets. Anyway, so that was very, very powerful. There's so many different ways that we can approach healing. It's nothing to be embarrassed about. Somebody could laugh at that story, Kristen. It'd be like,
Yeah.
I'm going to make this a smoker.
Yeah.
Why not? Why not? We'll let them take it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure someone would laugh at that because
course.
they're thinking it's ridiculous and things don't hold power. You know, a lot of people don't even consider that. That's one of the things I do in my life design offering is I go into your house and we kind
Oh,
of
God.
clear out, upgrade, move stuff around, shift the energy inside and get rid of a lot of those things that are holding a charge.
What a valuable service that is. Now, I
Thank
knew that
you.
about you, but I had forgotten that as we were talking. That's massive.
It is massive, and you know, I've had a difficult time kind of naming it because people are like, "Oh, Kristen's an organizer."
Do
I'm
it.
like,
No.
not really.
No.
That's part of it, yes, but we go way deeper
Oh,
than
it's
that.
way deeper than that. That's
Yeah.
way deeper than that. That's like somebody the other day called me a dog psychic, and I'm like, all right. You know, I'm not, it's like I'm an animal communicator. I don't just work with dogs, you know.
Right?
And
Oh,
it goes
speaking-
way deeper. Yeah.
Wait, speaking of which, I have 2 animal questions for you if you're up for that.
Sure, why not?
The
By the
first,
way, I want to help you come up with a name for your business because it happens to be one of my fortes. So
oh, really? Oh, I would love that too.
maybe your
Oh my
dogs
gosh.
will give us the name. But Kristen, what you do is invaluable. It should be listed on like you want to get better and you want to feel better. Go to a good psychic medium. Go to a good hypnotist. Go to a good energy healer. Go to a good home consultant. Will have the better name for it.
Yep.
You know, you are, my God, that's powerful. Okay.
It's very powerful. Actually, one of my clients, she's my star client, but she was doing the work beforehand. And that I think is crucial.
It's crucial.
You know,
It's not just one of these things.
yeah, you have to get it all working together. And
Yes,
she was
you
doing
do.
the work beforehand, but she had like energy from her ex really just shrouding her house. So we cleared out his old stuff. We, you know, did a clearing and a protection.
Jim.
And I don't know, maybe.
It is now. It is now.
It is now. Literally within 2 weeks, she had a new steady boyfriend. And that's what she was calling in. She was calling in love. And so it was pretty incredible to see. I mean, not everybody has that because not everybody's doing all the layers of work required.
Thank you for that because it is multi-layered. You
Yeah.
can't just go get a certificate to become an animal communicator or go get a certificate
Yep.
to be a healer, man.
Yep.
You best start with yourself and you best get real and get comfortable being uncomfortable.
Yeah.
You know?
There's a lot of discomfort. There's
A lot of discomfort.
discomfort.
Getting more comfortable being yourself. I even thought about making a video before, like, up in my game a lot here very soon, Kristen.
Yeah, me too. I feel you.
Take that for what it's worth. And like the other day, I dove in the pool after I was with the horses. Now, I was in a dress, not a swimsuit at the time, but the same message applies. I would have just as easily ripped my dress off in my swimsuit and been like, I'm pale. I have a little bit of, arm thing here. I have some few spider veins on my legs. And you know what? I'm also beautiful. And you know what else? I'm not about to go out and fix all that stuff because then I'm dramatically lowering my own fun quotient. I'll do a little bit of Botox from time to time. I don't color my hair, but I like makeup. I'll do just enough things where I feel like I'm decorating and celebrating myself, but I'm no longer up for grabs by the cosmetic, the beauty, and the self-hate industry to reinvent myself, destroy myself, or ruin my own pool party. It's that very energy that the animals respond to and that the spirits respond to, because they look at me and they look at you and they say that girl has no time to waste. And you know what else? They look at you and they look at me and they say, oh, she's having fun. Oh, we want to play with her. We
Yeah.
want to play with her. I'd invite you to my party in a heartbeat, Kristen.
And I would come. Clothing optional.
Clothing optional. Yes. Well played.
Celebrate all the schmutz.
Well, this other thing is so funny. It's like, who told us that this isn't okay? What is possibly wrong with that?
I mean, my background, I was a photographer for over 30 years and
Yes.
in Hollywood. And the Photoshop that I've done on celebrities is
Yeah.
it's mind-boggling. And then I have my young niece used to come to me and be like, I need my boobs done and I need a fit. She was like 16, not less. She was like young girl.
Oy.
And I'm like, honey, let me show you the before picture because she doesn't even look like
Look
that.
like that. I showed up to meet a friend the other day via Zoom, and I swear to God, I looked like Beetlejuice.
You're right. Yeah, that's
My
me.
hair
Yeah.
was like out to here.
I have to really celebrate Pam Anderson for like just coming out makeup free on the red carpet. Thank you, Pam.
It's just, I mean, it's so limiting. And, there's nothing wrong with wanting to look good. Like, I was going to get headshots. It may have even been done one time. And I was like, I want to lose the weight first. Because it wasn't regular me. And so I did want to put my best foot forward. But it didn't come from a place of self-hatred. It came from, you know what, I'm going to invest the time and the money in my best self, and now I'm going to make that happen. Is a different energy than criticizing everything about us. And when we
Absolutely.
stop criticizing ourselves, other people stop it too.
Yeah.
Stop picking on, I mean, my God, it's like I used to color my hair this color, and guess what? I don't color it anymore, and it became this color.
That's really cool.
That is a spooky story. You know what I mean? My hair was this color when I was younger, and then it went red. I have different photographs of it as a child. Then it went reddish. Then it went brown. Not brown, but, like a reddish brown. And then I highlighted it for years. And then one day I was like, I'm so tired of the energy and the money of going to the hair and the time.
That's where I'm at. This is natural.
Yeah. And it's
I
like,
just stopped last year. I used to blonde it. You're blonde. And then last year I was just like, I'm just so tired of it.
we get
Tired of doing it.
we have more. The person who's having the most fun is the one to look to as your healer. I call it the good crazy versus the bad crazy.
Right.
The bad crazy is the one sitting there like, and all like, they're afraid to fart type of thing.
Yeah.
And it's just like, you're a human being at the end of the day, man. You know what I mean? And I'm going to enjoy my party. If you want to enjoy the party with me, come along. It's
Yep.
one of the lines I say in my marketing video, like, what do I say to skeptics? You're missing out. The animals and I are going to keep enjoying the party. We're not going to wait for you to catch up. RSVP when you're ready.
Amen. Yeah.
So those are the
Totally.
those are the women that aren't going to be talking about you behind your back, by the way. There's that friend that I showed up the other day looking like Beetlejuice. When I came on the camera, it's like, she doesn't look startled. She's just like, yeah, it's my friend.
That's my friend. Yeah.
That's my friend. That's my friend in various stages. When I was in the hospital a few months ago, I took a horribly unflattering selfie. I was in a robe and my hair was so knotted up. It was like Marge Simpson.
Nice.
It is. And I posted it because I went, this is me today. you know? This is me today. It's all part of us. And just enough with the false images and the pressure that we put upon ourselves and put upon each other. I see the hate comments, and like I was kind of hiding, Kristen, from building my social media channels because I know that will be a part of it.
Yeah.
And yet all those people will be doing is advertising how they feel about themselves.
Yeah, I mean, I'm right there with you. I'm in that same boat. Like, I've been avoiding social for a while because I don't like to wear makeup. I don't like to put it on. I don't like the way it feels. I much prefer to be in a natural state, but to just post that all the time, I have like the bags around my eyes and I'm like, oh.
But some days you'll look movie star, right? And then other days
Yeah.
you might look girl next door, and other days you might look like, the drunk housekeeper.
Yep. Yeah, totally.
It's the
Totally.
various stages of ourselves, and just that's all part of giving ourselves permission to heal, permission to like ourselves, permission to play. And in doing so, we give that permission to everybody else. And we're also teaching the men in our lives, or the women, our significant others, how we expect to be treated and
Yeah.
how we will treat them.
Yeah.
You know?
That's so true. And I find that women being glamorous and all the things that women do because they think they need to do something with their looks, men generally, they don't care.
They really don't.
No,
You
they
know?
just want pussy.
Yes.
They don't
It's
care
funny,
what your face looks like.
right? Because speaking of pussy, I was going to go out on a date with this guy, smoking hot Hungarian dude. And I do mean smoking hot. And he was working on my house. Like, the Lord is good. God literally drops this guy off on my doorstep. And we're chit-chatting, we're flirting. We'd gone out to dinner. And then after dinner, I asked him, I was like, what do you really like in a woman? Many different ways to answer this question, Kristen. I encourage you to have him on as a guest on your show. Just ask him this question. It'll be worth it just for this answer. And
Oh
then
my
you
God.
can come off. Your interview will be 60 seconds. And then you go, bye-bye. And so he says, I really like blonde women, and I like women with shaved labia. And I went, okay. That's a preference, but what do you actually like about her? You know what I mean? It's like when I work at shelters, or volunteer shelters, and if I am helping in an adoption, I said, what do you like about Fluffy? What do you like about Rover? What do you like about
Right.
Bugs? And they say, oh, she's just so cute. And I'm like, okay, but what else?
Yeah.
What else? Because I want to make a love connection,
Yeah.
not a, profile connection. I
Yeah.
want to get to
Yeah.
the heart and soul level.
Yeah. I mean, and that's just part of the way that men and women are designed. Like, men bring up their energy from the root chakra. Women bring down their energy from the crown chakra. So unless you're meeting in the heart space, you're missing out somewhere.
You are missing out.
Yeah.
And if you are a man that's putting down the woman in your life because you think then that will make her not leave you if you keep her self-esteem low enough, guess what,
Oh.
mofo? You're ruining your own party.
Yeah.
It's honestly like, I said to a man recently about the pro-choice, and I said, do you guys not understand that when you are fighting to take away a woman's right to control her own body, that you're actually legislating your own sperm? And the guy goes, and I'm like, really? Men, boys, you haven't done the math? That if you're going to force us to get pregnant, you're now forcing yourselves to be fathers. So hope you have a lot of money in your bank account if you want to go around and fuck a lot of pussy, because that's expensive. So, okay,
So true.
okay, gentlemen, be careful what you wish for, because you're about to become Happy Father's Day, you sons of bitches. And
Yeah.
I would say it's another topic
That's
for
a
another time.
That is, I was just going to say that. That's a whole wormhole of information there.
It is.
Yeah, that's
I am a
deep,
rabbit hole within a rabbit hole.
right? Okay, let me ask you an animal question.
Yes.
And just what you think about this, and if anything comes in for you. I am about to go to Moorea, which is in Tahiti,
Okay.
to swim with humpback whales,
Oh, wow.
right?
What's the
And
process? What's the process of doing that?
so we get to Moorea, and then I guess we are going to be taking a boat out to get close enough to where the whales are, but not too close. And then we jump off the boat in the middle of the ocean,
Okay.
which is, so I'm getting a little bit freaked out. Like, and so the woman that we're going with, we call her Dolphin Dancer. She loves dolphins. She swims with dolphins all the time. She's been swimming with the whales
In
for
the
a long
wild.
time. In the wild, yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
She'll just swim offshore like a mile out and go
Yeah,
swim
so
with a
that's
pod of
different.
dolphins.
It's a whole different because you're out in the wild. And did you recently see? It was just on the news this week that the whale that was breaching that hit the boat and then the boat capsized.
Oh my God, right?
Yeah, that was interesting.
Yeah. So I'm having like a little feeling like, she said you don't have to get off the boat. You can stay on the boat. Or you can
Well,
get off the boat. And I'm thinking, if I'm going to travel my booty all the way to freaking Morea, I'm getting in the water.
Okay, because I was about to say that is a huge metaphor for life right there. Do I stay on the boat or I get off? You have to get off the boat because
Yeah.
just talking you through this worst case scenario, or I would even argue best case scenario, you die swimming with whales. Like,
Amen.
could be called worst case scenario, also could be called best case scenario. You know what I mean?
Right?
How did
That's a
Kristen
story.
Well, she befriended some whales, and she waved at us, and we never saw her again. You know, and I'd be like, "She's doing great, everybody. The whale community and Kristen
Oh my
are
God.
having fun."
That's
It's just,
brilliant.
again, removing another layer of what we think is sad, or what we think is so tragic, or like definitely get off the boat. You know,
Right.
it's like be smart and be brave,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. And I mean, they do this all the time. So
They do it all, well. You haven't done it all the time.
I haven't.
So you go in, be in your best energy space, which obviously you already do. You're not going there asking anything of the whales. Now that's the difference between you and somebody going to SeaWorld
Yeah.
and watching animals. I mean, that's just atrocious. That's disgusting. And don't do that. If
Yeah.
you're
This is
going-
in the middle of the ocean.
It's in the middle, exactly, which is why it's a different energetic process. And it is have fun and good luck. You know?
Yeah.
Really. In the other situation, you're engaging with a prisoner. In your situation, you're engaging with a free being who has free will, whether to come up and engage you or not. And hopefully you get a great sighting and a great experience and experience their energy, and then also keep a very safe distance, you know? But that's to be played with, that's to enjoy, and that's to experience. You're going to have a much different experience being the person on the boat than in the water.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there was a time I was at the top of a cliff. This was in Virginia many years ago, Stone Mountain. And I went with a bunch of friends. I was in my 20s, and there was a big cliff, and you could jump off the cliff to go into a beautiful lake. And it was gorgeous, Kristen. People are jumping off right and left, jumping off. And I climb up there, and I'm standing there, and I'm looking over the cliff, and I'm like, this is the thought. What if I'm the one person who hits the rock? I've watched person after person. What if I'm the one person who hits the rock and then a spinal cord injury? I'm the one person who doesn't pop up out of the water. What if I'm the one? And then a 10-year-old boy comes up and he looks at me and he goes, like, are you in line? He sees I'm not going to jump and he goes and jumps off. And I'm like, okay, thank you for that, child. Because the child arrived from a spirit team to say, all right, Shannon, you know, you're going to be showed
Yeah.
up by a 10-year-old boy.
Yeah. And we're going with kids, actually.
Oh, see? The children
Yeah.
are already jumping in. And I jumped off, and I was so liberated after jumping off. So go enjoy the kids. And it's a wonderful teaching opportunity for ourselves, for the children,
Yeah.
you know, and listen to the comments that the children make. And that what do we have to give to the whales?
Yeah.
People always say, what does the horse have to give me on my birthday? What does the dog at the shelter have to give to me? What do I have to offer the whales when I enter their home of the ocean?
That's
Love.
a beautiful, beautiful sentiment and perspective.
Yeah.
Yes. What do I have to give to
it's
them?
like, you know, be mindful of the lotions that you're wearing that you go into the ocean. There's some
Yeah.
products that we can put on our body that are actually harmful to animals and harmful to the ocean.
Yeah, that's definitely part of the protocol. There's none of that allowed.
Perfect.
Yeah.
You know? Perfect.
Yeah. It's a very conscious group, so I'm excited.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's always ways for us to become more conscious all the time. Being human beings, we're going to cause some damage here.
Yeah.
It's minimizing that,
Yeah.
you know? Yeah.
Yeah. So I have one more question for you,
Yeah.
and that is about my cat. I have a cat that I acquired, I guess, like 6 months ago now.
What's her name?
Well, that actually is one of my questions because she's about 8 when I got her.
Eight,
Her ear is clipped, maybe 8 years
8 years old?
old,
8 years old. Okay.
possibly. Her ear is clipped. She was very fearful, but we have been working together diligently. And she now gives me her belly. And she was just, when I was making those faces before, she was on my lap and she was giving me love bites on my arm. And I was like, oh,
The
I
whole time you're
love
talking,
it.
I feel the energy of Tina Turner.
Oh, really?
Um, and then I'm like, why Tina Turner? And I'm hearing you're already doing it, one of Tina Turner's, and it's the theme song of your show here today. Better be good to me. Better be good to me. You are.
Oh, good to
But
me.
so you're trying to come up with a name for her and Tiny Dancer. I mean, God, Tina Turner, man, is a powerhouse.
Yeah,
So
she is.
yeah, so the fact that Tina Turner's energy, I believe she's still alive, um, is showing up with your cat is very interesting. Have you considered a few names?
Yeah, we named her Coco Bina. Coco after Coco Chanel, who's an orphan, but she was also very glamorous. And then it just turned into Coco Bean, and then Beaniekins, and then Bina.
All
You
the
know how that
all the
goes.
different, all the
All the
different.
names.
I do know. Now, who's we? You and
Me and my boy Pierce. So Pierce is 13. He's my son. I'm a single mom. And we have 2 cats. The other one is, we call her Munchie, and she is 2 years old. She was a kitten. She's my boy's cat,
okay, nice,
right?
nice.
I
Yeah,
kind of want to grab Bina so you can see her because she's so cute.
we can. I do it just all energetically. So even what
Okay.
would you like? What would you like to ask? And so you call her Bina now.
Um, I was wondering what her life was like before, and I know that you said you don't really bring up the past, but sort of like, how did I end up with her? I feel like she was a breeder cat, and that was kind of what I was wondering. Was she a breeder who was put out?
I can ask her. It is interesting that Bina rhymes with Tina.
Yeah, that is interesting.
Bina, Tina Turner. I feel like there's going to be something that drops in for you on that later. Like you're going to get some Tina Turner reference or something.
Yeah,
One of the
Tina Turner.
songs,
That's
one of the messages. Oh my
interesting.
God! You know what else?
What?
Name for your business. I would look at Tina Turner songs and get very inspired by Tina Turner songs. You will absolutely come up with the name for your business based off of the energy of one of her songs.
Ooh, okay.
No doubt about that. And
Ooh.
it's going to be very powerful energetically setting that out there. I know one of her other songs is Private Dancer, which is not the proper name for your business. Right now, it's like
That could be some other business. That's my side hustle.
that's the deluxe package. That's the deluxe package. Private dancer. But, you are doing something in the privacy of people's homes. There's, the creative process. You sit down and you will craft it in the presence of your cats. So I'll say to Bina, what would she like to share about her past? If sometimes like direct hit questions like that can be a little hard on them, like were you used as a breeder cat, or we'll see what she wants to share on her own.
Yeah.
She would say, she says it's of no interest to me. It's of no interest to me. So let's ask her what she means. Much prefers to be the baby. She does really like your son. Really likes being a part of your world. And she said, oh boy, hold on. Oh, okay. Now this is a wonderful message. She says that when you're going in through your business of going into people's houses, also go through their pet belongings. Look at the bowls that they're using. this is just the message. I'm not, I'm not the message, I'm the messenger. So this is what she's saying. Don't use plastic bowls. They're a big no-no. So you may find that now you start to see plastic bowls in people's houses for their pet dishes. That's a huge no, because they're very, very, very germy. Not good. Harbors lots of bacteria. So also do this process for the pets. Oh boy, Kristen, you're going to be so gifted at this. When you go into the house, see their houses, not just from the people's perspectives, but also the pets' perspectives. Do the pets have a knife safe space to claim as their own? Are their dishes clean? Are they new? Are they, do they have some fresh, clean toys? Do they have a safe, soft bed? You can do some pet, feng shui as well as your other energetic process. That is what she would most like to assist you with. And oh boy, I would agree with this too. I'm always in agreement with the animals, of course, though. Include her in your logo. I do see like the cat tail wrapped around like the business card. Just,
Ooh.
yeah, it's really beautiful. She says that will add, not that it's not already elegant, whatever it is that you have, but this will add an additional elegance. Hold on.
Aw.
No, she is, and this is great advice. It's very wise. You can have 2 business cards if you want. And one of them is for your pet clients, and it has the cat on it, and the other one doesn't have that, because not everybody's a cat person. That's her saying that, by the way, not me. But of course, I'm like, well, that's true.
How dare they?
How dare they? And well, it's funny that you just said that, because she was literally just saying that kind of can turn away some of the right people as well. If you're not a pet person, or you aren't open to the heart of a cat or a dog, she says, are you really living? Are you really living? And I just became a first-time cat mom at Easter. I can't say enough good things about it as a lifelong dog mom. I'm just not getting an answer on the breeding question. I just get it's of no interest to her, and that she was mishandled a lot in the past. It just feels like the way people picked her up, engaged with her, whoever had her before you, every single thing that we have talked about throughout this entire show, she is summing up and saying she didn't appreciate the way people pet her. She didn't appreciate the way people touched her. It was disrespectful. It was not aligned. It was not thoughtful. People did not engage with her in a thoughtful way. And so what better way than to come into the house of Kristen, who is very thoughtful in your approach, in your touch, in your style, in your energy. This is a cat's dream, to be with someone who is so self-possessed and also fun. Tagging onto your comment where you said, like, clothing optional. That, she says, is the perfect balance of someone who will play by the rules, but also enjoy the party. And that is high praise. It really is, because animals like rules. They like to know what to expect of us. But boy, do they also like sometimes to know when it's recess, and when they can get on the couch, and when they can, go over on the couch next to me the whole time. So,
Oh,
by the way,
baby.
this was a gift to myself, this lovely hot pink velvet love seat, and I was like, it's gonna be the only chair that's animal free.
Oh, that's never gonna work.
Absolutely not. There's a blanket down on it. I was just like, all right, I'm either all in or I'm not.
I love it. Yes. Oh my gosh.
They're going to come home and they're going to be wearing my clothes and hosting my readings.
Totally. Oh my gosh, they're so powerful. I just wanted to show you her little face.
I would like to see her face.
She's such a sweet thing.
God, I know you're going to get the Tina Turner.
Tina Turner, that's so interesting.
Look up her, her best hits. Hi, I mean, my God, there's so much to work with there. Oh, hi, pretty kitty.
Oh, she does this hiding thing. Do you see, like, her hiding her face?
Beautiful. Beautiful.
Face. There you are.
Boy, she is gorgeous.
There you are.
She is quite lovely. Yeah, my cat does.
She's a pretty baby.
They live by their own rules. Their body, their choice, right?
Yes, totally. But we've worked together. We've worked together a lot just on handling and touching. And she was very skittish when I first got her.
Now that tags on to exactly the message that she gave.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
exactly the message that she was giving for you, which is good that the cameras are still rolling because it always happens when the cameras go off, then people say something. I'm like, that's what they were saying.
That's
So
what they
that
were
is,
saying. Yeah.
it's exactly the message that she gave you. She was giving you major props for, your touch is different than we have to be mindful of when we're touching. Are we giving or are we taking? That being said, even when we're having a horrible day, or we're grief stricken or whatever it is, it's still okay to pet your pets. Then they will be giving to us. At other
Right.
times, we'll be giving to them. Right?
Yeah.
And sometimes,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I feel like I was so sad for her that I just really worked on petting her and being gentle with her and also walking past her very slowly so that she
Yes.
didn't get
Yeah.
scared and run off.
Yeah. And
And now,
how easy was that to do?
yeah, just
Yeah.
being mindful.
It's just like it's incredibly easy. And people are so concerned about, I have the right to be as loud as I want in my house, and I have the right to, and it's like, you also have the right to be kind and respectful and thoughtful. And it's actually fun.
Yeah, it is fun. Yeah, it is fun.
Get me started on fireworks.
Shannon, this has been such a magical time together with you.
Thank you.
And I so appreciate our conversation. I feel like we could just keep talking.
There's so
And we
many
should
topics.
probably go for coffee.
I would love to. I would love to.
Right?
I'll get a hot chocolate, not in that mug though.
Right?
Not in the not in the angry mug. By the way, what did that mug say on it?
Mine?
Yeah.
This one, it says positivity is powerful.
Oh,
Positivity
nice.
is powerful. It's cute. I saw it at Target and I just had to have it.
Yeah.
It's a
Drinking
fresh
coffee.
one
Drinking
because I got rid of all my other ones.
coffee. I have a plate that says, "Here's your snack, dumbass."
That's funny.
It's
That's
the only
cute.
one that says something like that, and it just makes me laugh. Now I'd
Yeah.
be concerned if all of my dinnerware said that, but
Right?
and it's very
Yeah.
elegantly written.
Which makes it funnier.
Exactly. Yeah. The subconscious
Amen.
knows we're joking. Kristen, thank you for having me.
Thank you so much. I'm going to put all of your links down in the show notes so that everyone can find you. If you want to talk to Shannon, you'll have all the information to call her and get a reading. Yes, and I'll put a link to her book too. Absolutely. Open Mic for Animals, which sounds absolutely brilliant. I can't wait to read it.
Oh, I can't
And
wait for you to read it.
thank you so much for joining me. It's been such a pleasure.
Thanks, Kristen. I really appreciate being here. This was so much fun.
So fun! Yay! Please like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Thank you so much for joining us. See you next time.